a little bit washed out. If you wanted to dim a little bit of the light, it might help you out. You have a light background. You have that's going to help you out tremendously.
How about a 4 for these?
A 4?
What's your shirt say?
Spicoli 24.
Relax, I can fix it. That's another quote we say all the time. Frisco shit, that's gonna kill us.
We're live on Porchcast Pottstown.
Oh, sorry, I dropped it.
That's all right. No, it's par for the course that we would be in the middle of still setting up, even though we've been out here for an hour and a half.
We've been catching up, man. It's been a little while. It's been a minute since we've seen each otter.
Right. It's been since 4 weeks or something like that.
3 weeks since we had the Hobart's Run.
Yeah.
Cast. I almost said the cast of Hobart's Run.
Yeah. Elizabeth Harper, thanks for tuning in. Good evening. Gail Amber Wolf, thanks for tuning in.
Hello.
Don't forget, folks, that we like to know who's out there. So say hello to us in the chat. Hit that like button. Share the show over to your news feed if you can. Help us get the word out here on Porchcast Pottstown. Tonight, you will notice that we have a special guest. He's special, all right. That's Todd Bainbridge.
Todd's looking all official with his headphones on.
Yeah, well, Todd's got to hear you.
Oh, okay. You don't have to look at me though, Todd. Good to see you.
I'll peek around the corner once in a while.
Todd, amongst other things, is our Porchcast historian. Mm-hmm. Since we like to give out titles,
everyone's on the same pay schedule. All of our participating contributors are all on the same page.
Todd's taking advantage of his salary.
Yes.
I got him some Sly Fox.
He now is getting paid more than most of our guests.
Yeah. So we're all on the same pay scale. Everything's working out good. Todd's going to join us to talk about his the only way I could describe it is your Facebook-based research project, right? Like this was something that you started in your own personal life, right?
Yes. I started doing it on the Good Old Days of Pottstown Facebook page.
Okay.
Right.
Just sharing different history tidbits and stories and just clips out of the paper, postcards, any odd thing.
Right. And then I guess sometime recently you started your own Facebook page to kind of the stuff that you were more interested in, right? Because the Good Old Days of Pottstown it's a group, so anybody can post to that.
Right.
Sometimes I felt like I was jamming it up almost. I mean, it's I think more nostalgia based.
Okay.
I would concur with that, Todd. That it's and it's fun. I think it's a fun page. I think there's fun stuff over there. People will post like high school composite pictures or elementary composite pictures and name people and say, does anybody remember the candy shop on Hanover Street? That kind of stuff. So It is more nostalgia based, I think, than solid history based.
Right. And two, it's a closed group. I wanted a page that was open, that anybody could search and find and look at and contribute to, if I could figure that part out.
The part where people could contribute.
Yeah, I think it works, but I'm having a hard time with that end of it.
Right. Yeah. Well, Facebook, if you run a business page, which your page is, considered a business page, it can be a little hard to navigate.
It's difficult.
Yeah. Yeah.
So let's talk about, we have a pretty good amount of people tuned in already. Thanks for tuning in. You're watching the show either on Matt Green at Glocker Real Estate or Porchcast Pottstown. You might have picked up the feed through one of the other areas that we post to. I post to most of the Pottstown-centric Facebook pages, and we do have a working relationship with the folks over at Eye on Pottstown. So thanks for joining us. I do want to say this. The YouTube channel now has a new handle. So we're our YouTube, www.youtube.com/Porchcast Pottstown, which is going to make us even much more easier to find.
Really?
Yeah. YouTube decided to reassign handles to all YouTube channels. and they did it on a priority basis. So we got a little bit of higher priority because we do actually have subscribers to our show.
Wow. Joe is watching over. Hey, Joe, over on YouTube, he says I didn't see you on Facebook.
Oh,
so
we should be on Facebook.
Yeah, well, I was able to find it, but sometimes it's
wonky.
Sometimes it's wonky. I see my mom is here. Hi, Mom.
So that brings up a good point. If you can't find us on Facebook, jump over to YouTube or vice versa. So there's two ways to find us.
Right.
My point being is that I have found that the YouTube channel is much easier to navigate. If you want to watch the reruns, so to speak, the reruns are easier to find up at the Porchcast Pottstown.
Although the reruns don't go all the way back to the beginning.
They don't.
There's no Cat Bacon. There's no like those episodes.
I have to start downloading.
Me wearing an afro wig, like those.
Yes.
Those episodes.
The lost episodes.
Yeah, the lost episodes. I'll have to go back and start tracking some of those down and then downloading them and then uploading them to YouTube. So we can
sometime when you're like sitting around and you've got 10 hours with nothing to do.
I did do a few. There are some older videos that I converted from Facebook over to YouTube. So we'll just have to do that. And then on weeks that we don't have a show, although I didn't get to it last week, what I'll do is I'll put a rerun up on Facebook so that at least there'll be some consistency in our scheduling.
Right.
But like I said, thanks for everybody for tuning in. Joe Rusevich, Elizabeth Harper, anybody else, just remember to say hi, hit that like button, hit that share button, help us out. So getting back to Todd.
I enjoy Todd's page immensely.
It's well researched.
It's really well researched. So, Todd, do you have any background in research, or it's just something that you like to do?
Just something I like to do. No background at all. I mean, I'm good with Google. Right. I'm good with the internet.
And do you have a subscription to is it newspapers.com?
Newspapers.com.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you've got that subscription, which helps a lot when you can access those old papers.
It's worth every penny too. It's just tons of information on that. It's just incredible what's on there.
Now, are you a member of the Pottstown Historical Society at all?
I was.
Yeah.
I may still be.
Mulling it over.
I'm a member of the Pottstown Historical Society. And
we are too. We have been for you. Levi's on the board.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Levi brings down the average age of the board by about 20 years. Yeah. I'll give a little shout out to our friend Pat Murphy is going to be speaking at the Historical Society monthly meeting. I think it's November 21st, whatever that Monday is. And Pat is an organist. He builds and he restores organs. He's a super interesting guy.
Nice.
And he is speaking at the Historical Society that Monday of Thanksgiving week. Yeah.
So I use my membership at the Pottstown Historical Society to conduct research from time to time. Like, for instance, last walking tour, I did that program over at the Pot Cemetery.
Yep.
Went over there to the Historical Society to get all the supporting, not all, but a pretty good amount of supporting.
And you're a really good researcher too. Like you're a history guy, so you're a good researcher.
I have some training.
Right.
But
is that from college or from your time at the Park Service or
both?
Okay.
But college, I studied political science and American history, so we were researching all kinds of stuff. But I would say that and I've worked with people who have master's degrees and advanced level degrees, and Todd's research is just as solid as any of the stuff that the people. No, I'm serious.
Yeah, and in addition to that, Todd, your the posts that you put up are well written. So it's one thing to be able to research. But be able to cull the information and to compile it and present it in a way that is interesting to read and easy to follow.
Easy to digest.
Is another skill.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
Yeah,
so you're hitting the marks, brother.
Yeah,
we'll give you.
You're earning every penny you're making off of that page.
We'll get you an honorary history degree from some place. It's got to give you one, right?
I'm sure you can find one.
Yes.
So. Did you start out just with Pottstown? Like, is that where your love of history came from, or was there other areas or other topics of history where you started out and then Pottstown kind of became extension? Like, which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Well, the chicken. and
Right.
the chicken being the Coventrys.
Okay.
You know, so I grew up in South Coventry. There will be a post tomorrow. It's scheduled. It's kind of interesting and kind of relates to how I got started doing this.
Okay.
It goes back to first grade,
Mm-hmm.
kind of. It does, but it kind of relates to how I got into this. But yeah, mostly the Coventrys and over where I grew up and what was around Coventryville, where the Coventry Forge was, and they tested the original Ben Franklin stoves at Coventry Hall
at Warwick. Yes.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
We had a Franklin stove in the house I grew up in.
2 miles from where I grew up. So that kind of clicked with me, and just one thing leads to another. Get one book, get another, and get down the rabbit hole.
Right. And, you know, a lot of people don't know this, but Coventry and Warwick furnaces at the time of the American Revolution were operating at such a high level that it was actually causing a problem for English production. And it was really one of the contributing factors to the Revolutionary War. The English were trying to stop American or slow American iron production because it was competing with their own domestic product. And Coventry and Warwick, right down the road, were competing at the same level or high enough levels to give the English foundries and forges a run for their money.
Wow.
Yeah. So it becomes a
way
problem.
to go, Fivers. Way to start a war.
Yeah. But as you're saying, Benjamin Franklin comes out here, and it's well documented. I mean, you can go back and find his writings, his letters. He comes out here and meets with the operator of the furnace at the time, which
Grace, I think. Robert Grace.
Robert Grace. He meets with him in order to share his plans and his diagrams so that they can start making prototypes for the Franklin stove. So Franklin stove invented right here in
General Pottstown area.
Fiberland.
Fiberland. Call it the Greater Pottstown area. That's really interesting. Like I said, we had a Franklin stove in that house I grew up in, or we called it a Franklin stove. I don't know what if it.
No, that's what they're
that
still
thing busted out some heat. Let me tell you something.
Stoves.
We had it in the basement, and that thing cranked out some heat.
Yeah. And so you kind of get into that. And what's interesting, what I can relate to, is that I got into history in the same way. Being here from Pottstown, driving past Pottsgrove Manor on a regular basis when I was a kid, and just being curious about what is going on. You know, I grew up a half a block away from the Potts Cemetery, and all these things were kind of floating around in my mind, and I wanted to know more about them. So I developed my love for history too in very similar ways, and a lot of it was through my interest in this local history revolved around iron manufacturing. Now, you started in North Coventry. What time period, what part of your life are you starting to develop this love of history at? Well,
the post I have set up for tomorrow. That was first grade.
No spoilers, man.
First grade. But
really?
I think it usually when I think about when, it goes back to a report I did in 7th grade English class.
Okay.
About one-room schoolhouses. And there was a book in the library at the Owen J. Roberts Middle School. It was called The Forgers of Canowertown, Bucktown, Pewtown. It was all based in that general area, Canowertown, Warwick, down that way. And it talked about Coventry Forge, Warwick Furnace Farms, Reading Furnace Farms, all that.
Yeah.
And it just, I got the book to do the report on the schools because of that information and on the schools, but then I kept going through it.
Yeah.
And it was amazing that all these things were right in my backyard at one time.
The rabbit holes. Did you see, and I'm sure you know about this story, right? The cannons.
Yes.
So for those that don't know, Warwick Furnace was a stop of the Continental Army. After Brandywine, they were looking for a place that they could stop because their gunpowder had been destroyed by a huge downpour. And the army was down kind of in the area of where modern day Exton Mall is now.
Okay.
And
the Battle of the Clouds.
Right. they wanted to fight. The British and the Americans wanted to get into a battle. Like they wanted to tangle.
Chomping at the bit.
They were chomping at the bit to tangle again. And what happened was a hurricane hit. And it destroyed the American and the British powder. So they had to retreat in order to resupply. They went to Warwick, which
they should have just gone like mano a mano, like
yeah, right,
right.
just throwing down the gun, just going at it. And so they go to Warwick in order to resupply, and because Warwick is a furnace, and again, Warwick is competing, making iron products at a level.
And so a furnace meaning that's where they take the stuff and they melt it down into cannonballs and stoves and whatever.
Yeah.
So they're like smelting. Is that the right word? Okay,
yeah, that's
smelting.
one way to say it. They take the raw material and they heat it in this furnace to thousands and thousands of degrees.
Gazillion degrees. And it melt it down to make whatever.
Iron.
Right. Okay.
So one of the things that they were making over there was cannons. And because they were making cannons and testing cannons, there was a store of gunpowder there that the army needed in order to get their supplies
to
back
fight,
up.
Right.
But there's always been this legend. Why don't you pick up the story?
I read about this in a book years ago about cannon. I forget what the circumstances were. They thought the British were advancing.
Yeah, for sure.
On the furnaces there in that valley, and so they buried several of them.
Yeah,
near the creek, and I think they probably did it strategically.
They buried the cannons.
Yeah, they buried the cannons because they were worried about them falling into the hands of the British.
Right. Oh wait, didn't they just find those?
Yeah, this is what I'm getting at.
Okay, got it.
They did just find some, but I dug up a few articles. I think one was found in the 1890s.
Okay.
And then another. Trying to keep the story straight. Maybe in the early 1900s, one was dug up, and the owner of the land, I think it's Warwick Township.
Yes, it is.
Also owned land in Oley, and the cannon was found on his land in Warwick. In that they dug it up and transported it up to Oley, where it still sits in front of the house.
Yes. I've seen pictures of that. So that left 2 more cannons. There was 4. And it was always kind of like a local legend. And people didn't know whether it was true, that people didn't know where the cannons were.
Where were they?
And then just this past year, Scott Bentley, who owns the property now, and it's a nature preserve. He's donated that land to, I think, the Nature Conservancy. Scott, with his access to technology and everything, I guess they use some
radar kind of stuff.
Yeah, some ground penetrating radar and some other things, and they sure enough they found the other 2 cannons.
Dang,
amazing!
That's so cool.
Yeah.
So that's what your article is on tomorrow?
No.
Oh, okay.
we diverted.
Okay.
We took a diversion because he doesn't want to give too much
Gotcha.
away from the article.
I get it.
But that kind of kept us on topic.
Yeah.
Right.
It's funny how I come up with things sometimes and I post. I'm looking for something completely different.
Yeah.
Today I started out looking for an article on the Edmund Fitzgerald because today is the anniversary of when the Edmund Fitzgerald sank.
Okay.
And lo and behold, I found a small clipping in the Pottstown Mercury with me in it. November 10th.
From what year?
It would have been, I think, 75.
No kidding. Now, what were you doing? Like, what were you doing in the article that you found?
I wasn't in the police.
You weren't in the police blotter?
Not at that point.
That came later.
It was 1975, and our first grade teacher had decorated the classroom to some degree with some furnishings and whatnot that were period correct to the colonial time. So that was leading up to the bicentennial in 1976. It was like a whole year thing.
Yeah.
And it was just a picture of some me and with some of my classmates in this room. There's like a potbelly stove, and just a little blurb with our names. But it was interesting that I came across that.
You found it.
I had it clipped and saved before. I knew I was in there, but I never realized it was the same day as the Edmund Fitzgerald sank, which is, I'm looking for one thing and I find something
else. It's those rabbit holes that you go down.
Yeah.
Now, so let's circle it around into the borough. So most of the research, most of what I have seen from Pottstown Area History Collective, and if you want to see the articles that Todd is talking about, go to Pottstown Area History Collective. I did put a link in the chat so that people can find his page after the show.
Yep.
He puts his articles up there. And,
I'm going to put, there's an article here about those cannons did you put that up?
Yeah, I put one up too, but
I just found it's just from from FMZ. It was just an article.
Yeah, put it up.
Okay.
And so I just want to let people know Pottstown Area History Collective is where you can find the articles that Todd writes. So I want to try to circle it around. So your love of history and everything started down in the Coventrys when you were living down there as a kid. And then eventually at some point in your adult life, you wind up moving into the borough of Pottstown.
Moved into the borough and
it's all part of the love, man. This is it.
Yeah, in 97.
I think that's a motorcycle with a really loud radio.
It's very loud. Yeah.
That might be a friend of mine.
Yeah.
Moved into the borough in 97 and then
Me too.
And then discovered eBay shortly thereafter. And on eBay, all these things.
Oh, that was the time for eBay. Like the late 90s was like eBay really heavy.
Started searching all these, old postcards, whatever was on there, whatever I could find. And then eventually, there was more on Pottstown proper than, when the Coventrys or, the outskirts of town, which just kind of led me here historically, what I was researching and looking at. So that's kind of where that flipped.
Right.
We were here for a few years and I got into that and I thought, there's so much just within the borough limits. It's amazing.
It's unbelievable. So within the borough, what I've noticed you do a lot of is talk about specific buildings or specific neighborhoods. Is there any one area of the Pottstown history that intrigues you the most, or something that you're really trying to focus on concentrating on during the course of your research, or are you just kind of exposing things as they come to you?
As they come, and a lot of times it comes as I'm looking for something else.
Right. You find it along the way.
Well, that's interesting.
Or you have people like me that's like, hey, tell me what you can find in the building, our 800 East High Street.
Yeah, exactly.
Ted did a bunch of research and information on that. So
on your building at Wolf Baldwin Associates.
Yeah.
But if I'm looking for one thing and then I see something else that seems interesting, and depending on what it is, if I could find more info on it and then put that together, it's sometimes they're the best ones.
Right.
Right. The things you kind of just happen upon. Right.
Yeah.
Now, I know that there was one of the things that you were intrigued by, and people who are from Pottstown will know this. It's the little house on the triangle up there at the corner of Oak and Oak, Hanover, and
did you do a piece on
Farmington.
that?
On the
right behind Bouse Catering, the little house the little house at the triangle right behind where Bouse Catering is. You've written a couple of articles about that, and I know.
I missed that.
Right at Oak and Hanover.
Yes. Yeah.
I am still trying to find information. I am certain that house is very old. Very old.
Okay.
And was it built as a 2-story? That thing, it can't be 500 square feet between the 2 stories.
I think it was built as a 2-story.
Talk about tiny house nation.
No, you're thinking of the one at the corner of Farmington and Willow.
No.
This is the other one that I know that he's done a lot of research on, is at the corner of Oak and Hanover Street.
Oak and Hanover.
It's on its own little island.
That's Farmington and Willow.
Oh, what one are you talking about?
The one right behind Bouse Catering, across the street from the dollar store.
It's a stucco 2-story, and it sits kind of crooked in its lot.
It's right behind Bouse Catering.
It has 2 huge chimneys.
Okay.
You know where? Okay, so
there's 2 little mini tiny houses.
It's not a little tiny. It's not a tiny house.
Oh, okay. The one that I'm talking about is really
that
small.
Is a little tiny house.
that is really small. That one. Yeah.
It is.
Okay.
This one
behind Bowses.
If you're going up Hanover Street, from Farmington, where the Farmington curves around and Hanover curves around, right in front of Riverside Beverage.
Yeah,
and
I
the
know.
Dollar
Yeah,
Store.
I know where Bouse is, and there's like a garage there.
Correct.
And
it's the house right behind the Bouse Catering and the garage.
Got it. Okay, I'm gonna have to go on a little recon mission tomorrow.
The northwest corner of Hanover and Oak.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
What caught your attention about that house? Like, what made you key in on that house?
I always looked at it and thought it sat in the lot at an odd angle, because it does.
Yeah,
you know, with Oak coming down and Hanover running behind, it just seemed like an odd. It's situated oddly. Not to mention, it's fairly small for the size of the two chimneys it has.
Yeah. It does.
Have you ever noticed how big the chimney?
Yeah.
So my thought is, and I'm pretty certain, it was there before Hanover. I hate to say where Hanover stopped, because I'm not sure where Hanover technically stopped.
Is it this one?
Yes.
Okay.
That's the one.
That's the one. Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
But I think when the main route out was as a Hanover we know today, and you curve left on the Farmington, I think that was the general route. And the extension of Hanover wasn't there at that time, nor was Oak coming down.
No.
So I think it sat on its lot looking over Farmington before Oak was there, which would kind of make sense.
Yeah, the way it's laid out.
It's in one old map that I found. It appears that there was a barn across Farmington from it, kind of where Bailey's Automotive sits today.
Yeah.
But I can't. Public record says it was built in 1900, but 1900 seems to be the default year when they don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Now that house cannot be 12 feet wide. I mean, it's really narrow.
It is narrow.
Yeah.
And it's long. The other thing that public records does sometimes is it picks up on later additions. So, for instance, our house, the house that my parents live in, if you look in public records, it says 1920 or 1930, but the house is much older than that.
Right.
We know that the house was built in the 1880s.
Right.
What it's picking up on is the quote unquote modern kitchen that was built into the back of the house in the 20s or 30s when they started converting what used to be cook shacks and kitchen shanties. And as they attached them to the brick structures or built new brick structures to encompass the new modern kitchen, public records picks up on that addition, and it changes the date of construction on the house. But it is also a default. It's a placeholder for houses that they
just don't have the information.
Don't have the information.
Yeah. As far as I can figure out, the name Missimer seems to be attached to it. Looking at, and I think the map was 1873,
right?
Yeah.
So that north end part of the town, at some places and in some maps, is called Missimer's Extension or Missimer's Addition.
Yeah, that's a name that is like, I don't want to say common around here, but like I've definitely heard that name.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right.
Yeah, it's a pretty common family name in this area. But there was a farm that was owned by somebody in the Missimer family, and that section just north of what's modern day Oak Street was owned by the Missimer family. If you go back and look at some of those older maps, it actually shows that.
Yeah, some of them I've seen Missimer's Addition. I've seen Missimer's lots in certain areas in that section.
Yeah. Well, they were probably subdividing lots, right? They were probably subdividing those lots and then selling them off in order to just same thing happens in modern times, right? Like the old farms get carved up and it gets sold off. Now, work us through your process for this. So like I'm using this as an example just because I know you've put a lot of time and effort into it. So you should be able to easily talk about it. So you drive by there, the way that house sits catches your attention and you want to learn more about it. Walk us through your process of how you go through the research of discovering more information. So once something catches your eye or attention, what's the next step in order to start the research project?
Well, let's, for instance, that house, the address, and I go to newspapers.com and plug the address in.
Right. So that's your starting point at the newspapers.
That's the starting point.
Okay.
And from there, I may or may not find any information on it. That one I did. I found the family. I can't remember the name at this point, but I want to say Long Anchor, but I know that's not correct. But the family name attached to that house was all the way up, I believe, through the late 90s or 90s in general.
Wow.
Yeah.
Until it sold. But I can't find any connection between it and Missimer.
I gotcha.
Which I can see on the map.
Yeah. But you can't track down that transfer between where it comes from the Missimer ownership to maybe this Long Acre family.
Not without getting off my backside and going somewhere and digging through
like
some
maybe
files.
Going down to the county and open up
like
public
going to like the deeds, public records.
Yeah.
Now, so after you do the article search, and let's say whatever you can find comes up in the article search, and then I guess what you do is you use those names or those little clues that you find and then start researching there.
Yeah, I could hit a last name and just start searching the name. I can narrow it down to a certain time frame and maybe find something that way. I mean, there's all kinds of little tricks or different ways to do that and see if I could come up with something. Sometimes I can find things that relate if I misspell names.
I gotcha.
Like a common, what I think might be a common misspelling and plug that in. And,
right, like Missimer, like with one S or two S's or M's or whatever.
And it'll come up sometimes.
Interesting.
Right. Because, well, the further you go back in time when you're doing these document searches, grammar is not all that important to earlier writers. It's really a flexible thing.
Right.
Grammar and spelling change.
Well, and something like Matt, I'm sure you've seen really old deeds, like with the scrolly, the S's, and it's hard to read them
calligraphy.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And a lot of times, some of those the way those those old papers are physically scanned into that system. And sometimes the scans aren't good, or the copies they're using aren't great, and it doesn't pick up on everything.
Right.
So sometimes when you change the search criteria, keep it close but a little bit different.
Yeah.
It'll pick it up.
It'll pick up somebody else might have mislabeled it or misinterpreted what was there. So above and beyond what you're doing with the newspaper searches, and I'm sure you're finding a lot of information on that, because when I go to Pottstown Area History Collective, I can see a lot of newspaper articles and newspaper clippings. Above and beyond that, what other sources of information are you using to collect this information or the research?
A really good one is Google Books.
Okay.
Believe it or not, if you search Google and go up the top and click books, and from there you can drill it down to a time frame as well. And sometimes it'll just pick up a name or a place or an address. And I found a lot of things using that method.
The Google Books. And then that will take you to an article or a chapter or some pages from this specific book, right?
Interesting.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
And I found the same thing. Like, I was just doing some history. I'm a volunteer at Peter Wentz Homestead, which is kind of out by Methactons and what they used to call the Methacton Hills. And I was getting ready to do a program that we did earlier in September. And I found some pages from a history of Montgomery County. It's like the history of Montgomery County. The book was from like the 1890s or 1900. And there, sure enough, in where somebody has taken the time to scan in every page of this Montgomery County history book, and it came up in a Google search, and it gave me a lot of information that I needed in order to get ready for my program, because I was going to be talking about this guy. His last name's Hector. I can't think of his first name, but anyway, he was one of the heroes of the Battle of Brandywine. He was a black wagoneer, black teamster who saved his team and some guns during the retreat from Brandywine. There's a street in Conshohocken named Ned Hector is this guy's name, and there's a street in Conshohocken named after him because he was one of the first settlers in Plymouth Township, and then went on to a certain amount of local fame as one of the heroes of the Battle of Brandywine for saving his wagons and saving supplies during the retreat. Yeah.
Awesome.
But I found, to make a long story short,
too late.
I found his information about him in this book that had been scanned in. Somebody had taken the time to scan this book, and I found it through a Google search. It's amazing what modern technology has given us the ability to do.
Yeah, you don't have to go to the library and go through the card catalog anymore.
Not so much.
And as much as it can be frustrating, like some of the trouble I was having earlier.
Yeah.
In this instance, like we're talking about, it's how beneficial it is that somebody did take the time, and there it is, and it's easy to get to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, right. Answers a lot of your questions, or creates 100 more.
Yeah. And
think about how important those newspaper articles are for you in your research, and having had a local newspaper for such a long time, and how much information that's contained over the years, and the sad state of small local newspapers now.
And this brings me to a kind of a point that I wanted to make, is that I remember when I was a kid, Mike Snyder was one of these writers. Back in the day, there was a writer for the Mercury by the name of Clausen, and he used to write for a lot of other newspapers. And, on a Sunday edition,
Mike would do that like first Sunday, the first Sunday of the month. There was always a big history article. I don't think that is
he still
anymore.
Does them, but it's not, and it's on a much limited basis than it used to be. When I was a kid, when we were kids, we're all Generation Xers, you could count on the Sunday edition having a historical article about your town or about something else. Think that's all gone now because of what's happening to our local newspapers.
Yeah.
So it really, and that's how we learn about our history. That's how we learn about how our democracy works, our government works.
Right.
I mean, think about it. Todd and I, as little kids, completely got ourselves immersed in local history and now love this area, love this town, are contributors to society, all from reading some books at the local newspaper, at the local library, and reading some historical newspaper. That we've removed that from society, and then we wonder why kids don't know about American history. We've done that to ourselves. So the point that I'm making is, if you want to go and check out some local history, and if that was something that you enjoyed formerly in the newspaper, go check out Pottstown Area History Collective.
So it's a new way of
it's kind of filling in the gap.
Right. To present that information, provide and present that information in a way that people want to consume it now, which is through social media.
Right. And like yesterday on the Cast at Glocker, Jeff Frederick and I went to the Boyertown Historical Society. So this weekend on Sunday, they're having a documentary about the Mighty Atom. The Mighty Atom was like a strongman, and he used to have a booth and a stand up at Zern's. The Mighty Atom trained Slim the Hammerman. From
I saw a whole program on the Mighty Atom. My friend Larry Cohen did it down at the Pottstown Historical Society. He did a program on the Mighty Atom and Slim.
And now there's
Slim was still alive, and he was there.
Right. And now there's a new guy, the Irish Anvil. So the Irish Anvil was trained by Slim.
Okay.
And these are all local guys. But anyway, the point of the story is Jeff and I were at the Historical Society, Boyertown Historical Society yesterday. They're teaming up with the Boyertown Historical Museum, Vehicles Museum, and the State Theater. So your $25 ticket gets you into the movie. It gets you into the museum. They're having a reception.
Oh, cool.
There's a meet and greet with, I think, the Mighty Atom's son or people that were involved in making the movie.
Right.
But long story short, these are things that are now happening on social media that the local newspaper used to do, like Your News and Events. Jeff Frederick's What's Going Down in Boyertown are filling the gaps that are left because we've destroyed our local newspaper. So, and really at the end of the day, it's one of the reasons why we've teamed up with Eye on Pottstown in order to bring you Pottstown reports, and we're trying to get as a little bit better and cooperating with some of these Facebook groups. But Todd has been a contributor to the show. He's our Porchcast historian, officially blessed and designated.
Someday, Matt, 50 years from now, some kid is going to be doing like a research project on how the pandemic affected Pottstown, and this kid will come across our old episodes, be like, look at these two nut jobs. What were they doing?
If you want to learn more about any of this stuff that we're talking about, just type in Pottstown Area History Collective into your Facebook search bar. And right now I see a picture of the Madison Bridge, which is the Kime Street Bridge, which is still standing. And it looks like it was from a flood scene or something from the turn of the century.
Yeah, I think that was 1910, the winter of 1910. All the ice blocks.
Yeah, some people might have also seen the picture that Todd gave me in lieu of a logo, which is a gentleman sitting on a wicker chair or a wicker bench with a Pottstown Brewing Company case of beer. Tell me more about that.
He looks a little like Sling Blade, that guy.
It does, but tell me more. Clearly 19th century or 18th century, 19th or 20th century grooming standards were much different. Tell me about that picture. What do you know about that?
I was alerted to that picture by a friend. It was on eBay.
Okay.
I think it still is.
Okay.
It's a postcard, and last I looked, it was up to nearly $90.
Really?
Yeah.
I love everything about it. I love the bench that he's sitting on. I love that crate that says Pottstown Brewing Company, Pottstown, Pennsylvania. I love his overalls. I love everything about this picture. It's fantastic.
I'm getting ready to download it as an overlay, and I'm going to pop a screenshot of it up all over the screen. But that guy,
was that guy? Was he just enjoying the beer? Do you think he was drinking it? Do you think he worked there? Do you think he owned it? Do you think he did he work there? Was that like every week he got to take home a case? Like, what's his story? I could build like a whole story around this guy.
Looks like a good Friday afternoon.
I love it. I love that house in the background.
I would love to know more about that.
Yeah, I would too. That's the first thing I thought was when I saw it.
Like maybe
what's in the background?
Maybe if you buy the picture, there's something written on the back. Does it show on? Did you say it was on eBay?
Yeah, it's on eBay. The backside, there's nothing. No, there's no. I don't think there's any postmark or there's no writing, and I don't think there's any postmark on the back.
Okay. It's just fantastic.
It is.
I think Pub needs to have that, and blow it up and put it in their. Like on their wall.
Yeah. Or JJ Radigan's or Sly Fox.
I love it.
Any one of the local breweries. That would be a great piece of little memorabilia. So that's the kind of stuff that you're coming across in your research, right? And then depending on what you find and how researchable it is, that will create a new article or a new jumping off point for some posting on Pottstown Area History Collective.
I always joke, I'll see something shiny, and I go after it, and see what else I can find on it.
So we have a lot of people watching right now, and I'm sure there's some people that are interested in Pottstown history. If somebody wants to contribute to Pottstown Area History Collective or provide you with some information about something that they see on there, what's the best way for them to get a hold of you?
I think they can go ahead and make a post.
Okay.
This is the part of it I haven't figured out yet.
I have not been able to figure out how to make a post on your page. I thought you had it closed for a reason.
I've had 2 people make posts.
Okay.
Interesting.
And they seem to be like they need my approval to be visible.
Okay.
And if, as I understand it, I'm doing it correctly.
Okay.
But it doesn't seem to make them visible.
I gotcha.
I've sat down with it. I fiddled with it. I've gotten frustrated, left, come back, tried it again. I can't figure it out.
So long story short, though, and I'll put your graphic back up so people can get the spelling of your name. You are Todd Bainbridge, and you do have a personal page on Facebook, right? And you have Facebook Messenger, et cetera, et cetera. So if somebody was so inclined to maybe give Todd a little bit of help with his research project.
Absolutely.
Reach out to Todd via Facebook, and there's his name and everything else up on the page. Pottstown Area History Collective. It's a great page, tons and tons of information. And I really see this as a way, not just this page, but the good old days of Pottstown and some of these other history pages. This is a way that we can use to build pride in our neighborhoods. If we know about our past, if we know about some of the accomplishments of the people that came before us here in this borough, I think it would change people's mind about what's going on currently.
Well, I think it's Matt, one of the reasons that we that you started your in the works, and why I started moving forward, and then why we teamed up and did this, was because there was in the earlier days of in maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, there was a lot of negative Pottstown pages out there on Facebook. There was Crime on Pottstown, and there was the those kinds of
the Golden Cockroach is the one that really, and that wasn't even a Facebook page, it was a website at that time.
Right. And so we wanted to we were thinking about, Matt, as a realtor, you're thinking about people that are doing research on Pottstown. What are they coming across? They're coming across these really negative things. And we wanted to put this positive stuff out there so that people that were doing research on Pottstown, wanted to know what it was like to live here, could find something other than the Golden Cockroach and Crime on Pottstown and pages like that. And so let's highlight the good stuff that's happening. And Pottstown Area History Collective is one of those things that, like, you hope that when people are doing their research, they'd be like, wow, there's a lot of history in Pottstown. There's a lot of stuff that happened there, and a lot of really rich history. It looks like a really cool place to be.
Yeah, I mean, people have been contributing to society here in Pottstown for literally hundreds of years. We wouldn't be at the point that we're at with as much history preserved. Really, our town is successful when compared to some other places. If you've traveled around Pennsylvania,
absolutely,
other Pottstown-sized boroughs are struggling.
Right.
Now, we have our challenges, for sure.
Of course.
But there's a lot of positive stuff that goes on here in Pottstown.
Yep.
And I just want to give Todd a lot of credit for highlighting our history. And again, creating a place where people can go to find some positive information about our town. Yeah. It's great.
Thanks,
buddy.
I enjoy doing it.
Yeah. No, it comes through. Like, it totally comes through with the amount of time that you spend on those projects, and the amount of time you'll get into something and then bring it back up. Hey, I found some more information about this. I'm going to revive this thread. It's great. And there's a couple of different stories, like the one building that we just talked about. I've been following along with that since you first started posting about it. I'll see you down at pub, and I'll ask you,
hey, did you find anything else? Right? Yeah. It's like a soap opera.
Yeah.
Or
you got anything else on that? I'm working on something, or I have some curiosity. Todd is one of the first people now that I'll reach out to. Hey, I'm working on this, or I'm working on that, or I had this question about this. Have you ever come across this, that, or the other thing? Todd's now like one of my top guys, go-to guys. I think I hooked you up with the folks from the Glendale Flour Mill.
Yes.
Up there on in Pine Forge.
We Darlene and I went and visited.
Did you?
Jennifer.
Yeah, Jennifer.
We were up there for like 3 hours. She took us through the whole thing. What a great place.
Yeah.
I mean, just wonderful. Right by the creek. Yeah. We were down almost in the creek and just going through it's amazing.
So the Glendale Flour Mill is on Ironstone Drive.
Okay.
If you go out Manatawny Road from Pottstown and then make a right onto Ironstone Drive, it takes you down along the Manatawny, and then it makes a left-hand turn and goes up the hill up along Ironstone Creek. On the left-hand side, there's an old flour mill. It's an old mill. And this woman named Jennifer and her husband have purchased it.
Cool.
And they're in the process of rehabbing it.
Neat.
There's actually some original parts of the mill still left, or some original parts of the equipment, and they're turning it into a museum.
Cool.
It's right below the Douglas Township Park there on Ironstone Drive.
Did you do a post on that, Todd?
I don't think I have.
No, the connection was that the Glendale Flour Mill was a supplier to the Farrowfoss factory.
There was a connection there. Yes.
Yeah. So the Farrowfoss building, they made sodas and drinks.
Okay.
And that's at the corner of Charlotte and Oak. That's actually Elizabeth Harper's neighborhood.
Okay.
And the Farrowfoss soda factory was up there on that corner.
Okay.
It's one of those buildings. I don't know which one it was, but where the Pottstown Florist is, and there's a little bodega up there. There's a consignment shop up there.
Yep, I know exactly.
That's where the Farrowfoss was. And Glendale, in some way, shape, or form, supplied one of the businesses on that corner.
If I remember, because we ended up talking, and she asked me if I could find any information. Of course, okay, I love a good challenge, and I dug in, and I found that one of the names connected to the mill had a business at Oak in Charlotte.
Okay,
but the Farrowfoss building, which also had a connection to
it somehow,
they're on Charlotte, just south of Beach.
Oh, okay. Yeah, but I think that comes later. Didn't they move down there at a later point?
I think that was first.
Was it? Okay.
It's all in a very similar time frame.
Right.
It's not like it's a much of a difference in years, but and this is where it comes in. You find one thing and it leads to another, and then try to put all that together.
We interviewed the folks from Glendale Flour Mill. We interviewed Jennifer on the Cast It Clocker, which they
do have the Glendale Flour Mills does have a Facebook page with some really nice pictures of their building and things they've unearthed.
Yeah, she during the course of that interview, she was talking about the connection between Boyertown and Pottstown through the Glendale Flour Mill, and literally Todd's name. He was the first person I thought of. I'm like, oh, you got to talk to Todd.
Right.
He does a lot of research up there on that neighborhood and in Pottstown. I'm glad you guys were able to get connected.
Yeah, she if I remember correctly, she called me and we talked about what she was looking for, and I said sure.
Yeah,
and it might have been over my winter break from work, so I'm not doing anything right now, so off I went with it.
So Todd, before we start getting into news and events, because we are getting down to that period of the show, what do you do during your normal day to day? What's your 9 to 5?
What do I do for a living?
Yeah.
I work at Columbia Boiler Company.
Another historic Pottstown.
It's been in Stowe on Old Reading Pike since 1936.
Wow.
Prior to that, the building was, the property was, I think it was called the Steel Plate Product Company. I don't know if that was very long lived, and I think it sat vacant for a while before Columbia bought it. But Columbia's roots go back to Columbia, Pennsylvania. That's where the name Columbia Boiler comes from. But the Columbia Boiler of today starts in 1936 in Stowe, Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
and I've been there since 2002.
Wow.
So going on.
Yeah, been a year.
Just over 20 years. It was 20 years in August.
And what do you do for them?
I am a initially it was my position was called inside sales.
Okay.
It has since changed, unbeknownst to me, at one point when they changed the website to senior sales engineer.
Okay. Ooh, fancy.
Sounds great.
Fancy.
Was there a corresponding pay increase with that?
Of course there was not.
And one of your friends from Columbia Boiler, Elizabeth Yoder, is saying hello to you. She's a regular. Yeah, Liz is a regular watcher.
A regular watcher and contributor.
Hi,
Thank
Liz.
you.
A regular Porchtonian.
Yes.
I'm going to get a link up to Columbia Boiler and put that into the link so that people can learn more about that.
Yep.
A good product. I mean, one of the best leaders in the industry.
Yeah.
No shit. I mean, this is when I go into a house and I'm looking at a house and there's a Columbia boiler in there, whether it's old or new, I tell the folks that I'm looking at that place, this is good stuff. This is good stuff.
Right. All right.
Oh, that boiler is maybe 40 years old. Yeah. And if you maintain it, it's going to last another 40.
Right. Yeah. It's 40 years old for a reason.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Good stuff. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.
Yeah.
You want to give some people some shout outs, Amy, and I'm going to finish toasting.
Yeah, well, we got some news. We got some events. I've got Jamie Sanchez just texted me with something she would like me to share. So I'm going to go through. I don't have quite as big of a stack as October. My gosh, October was nuts. But it is holiday season coming up. So there's lots of holiday stuff starting to happen. Holiday Craft Show, November 19th at the North End Fire Company Banquet Hall, 301 Prospect Street. That's up there at Prospect in Charlotte, November 19th from 9 to 3, featuring local crafters, businesses, and vendors. If you are interested in being a vendor there, contact Jamie Sanchez. And if you go to Jamie's page, Pottstown, PA events, she's got that listed there, and you can get her contact information from that post. So thank you, Jamie, for that information. Yeah, I've got that other one in my stack if you're watching, Jamie. So thank you. Okay, in no particular order, our friends at Hobart's Run shared this movie screening, which is happening in Phoenixville. So get your travel visa and head down to Phoenixville. This is the night before Thanksgiving at the Colonial Theater. Local area native Grady Craig, who is a movie producer, will be showing his independent feature film Dig, and that is a fundraiser. It's a $20 requested donation. It's a fundraiser for Hobart's Run here in Pottstown. So that is the night before Thanksgiving is always a big night out. So if you want to go far afield, and head down to Phoenixville and check that out. That screening at the Colonial Theater, which would be kind of fun. Diabetes and Diabetes Prevention Health Fair. This is on this Saturday, November 12th, 9 to 1 at the Pottsgrove Senior High School. No reservations needed. There's demonstrations, product samples, health screenings, door prizes, refreshments, exhibitors. This is sponsored by PMSI and some other folks. So if you have or know somebody with diabetes, I'm assuming either type 1 or type 2, and you would like to better manage it, or you need to learn how to take care for your loved one with diabetes, this fair is from 9 to 1, November 12th, Saturday at the senior high school. There's a mosquito in here. It's November 10th, yes. And there's a damn mosquito.
It was 70 degrees today.
The hell? Climate change.
I believe that there's a professional or a former professional football player that's partaking in the diabetes
I'm sorry, I missed that. Come greet and meet with Otis Anderson, the former National Football League running back who played for 14 seasons and holds 2 Super Bowl titles. Who did he play for? Do you know?
No. I never heard of him, actually.
All right.
But the folks that are putting that on reached out to me and asked me to promote that, and said that they thought that the Otis Anderson was going to make a draw.
Okay.
So, I mean, those of us that are really into hardcore sports history, maybe.
Yes. Let's see. Anderson he played with the Cardinals and the Giants.
I was just going to say the Giants.
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Okay.
He was Offensive Rookie of the Year and received Pro Bowl and first all-team honors with the Cardinals. He won 2 Super Bowl titles, Super Bowl 20 and 25, MVP of number 25.
Okay.
So there you go, Super Bowl MVP. All right, ain't no Philly special, but Otis Anderson. All right, over here at Emmanuel Lutheran, Emmanuel's Closet, free clothing. So if you know of somebody that is needs some free clothing, they have their Emmanuel's Closet is open Mondays and Wednesdays from 1 to 3, Friday from 11 to 1, and every other Tuesday and Saturday from 4 to 6. Their visits are limited to once per month, but you can find information if you Google Emmanuel's Closet, Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Pottstown. They are also accepting donations of gently used clothing items for men, women, and children. They need new socks and underwear. Don't be bringing them any used socks and underwear, but if you would like to make a donation of new socks and underwear, that would be very helpful. Socks are often something that people that are experiencing homelessness are in great need of.
I'm going to put a link up to that in the chat box. I did find it very easily just by Googling Emmanuel's Closet. I'm working with the Pottstown Cluster of Religious Communities in order to address some of the challenges that came up through the community meal and also the horrible, the really badly timed citations that were issued to two of the churches on High Street. We had a meeting today. We're moving forward with some of the best practices. You can go back to one of our past shows, and I spoke with Anissa Jones and Patricia Shepard, and you can learn more about helping the homeless, clothing and feeding them.
In a productive way.
Correct.
In a productive way that does not have unintended consequences.
There still will be some unintended consequences, but we're trying to minimize those as much as possible.
Yep.
There is a documentary that you can find on YouTube called Dead Men's Clothes. If you want to look at the environmental impact that clothing donation has, watch that video, Dead Men's Clothes.
Interesting.
And then the next time you go to make a clothing donation, really think about what it is that you are donating. Some of that stuff might just need to be disposed of properly.
Right.
Rather than giving it to somebody who's not going to use it because it's not usable.
Right.
And I guess that's what Emmanuel's Closet is trying to say too.
Right.
Give us some stuff that can actually be used. Don't just give us junk and trash.
Don't give us your shit that's all stained up and like ripped and whatever.
But
right.
if you want to see the unintended consequences of clothing donation, the name of the documentary is called Dead Men's Clothes.
Right. Okay. Also, Thanksgiving Eve, Wednesday, November 23rd, big party night.
Huge.
Flux Capacitor is playing at Rivet. I don't know what they play, but they sound like a fun name. Flux Capacitor, fluxing.
If I drink enough, I'll go back in time.
Back by popular demand after their amazing outdoor show this past summer. So that sounds like fun. And they have a food truck on site that night. Potluck truck.
Remember,
that
folks,
sounds fun.
That it's so many hundreds of thousands of people are on the road traveling during Thanksgiving. It's the most heavily traveled time of the year. I think it even surpasses Christmas.
Yeah.
If you decide to go out on Thanksgiving Eve and you live in Pottstown, you can walk.
You can walk.
There's at least a half a dozen things that you're going to be able to do right here in the borough that you can walk to. Don't get on the road and put somebody else's life in jeopardy. That's my PSA.
Yep. We like to walk.
I'm full of them.
Yep. All right. So that is at Rivet, 7:00. Nice early show. Another vendor event, Professional Pharmacy. This is December 10th on Saturday, December 10th from 10 to 3. They are looking for vendors, but they are having a holiday event. Lots of local shopping. Remember, keep your dollars local when you are doing your holiday shopping. Buy a gift card. Buy something at one of our local shops, Danny B. Funky or one of those places, or buy somebody a gift card for the car wash or for Argento's or for anything that they use. Go down to Kohl's, get them some scratch offs, get them some cigars,
some pipe tobacco, or some cigars.
Yeah.
You did an excellent job last Christmas.
That was fun. Yeah. Let's do that again.
All right.
Let's do that again.
That's what I was going to suggest.
Friggin' mosquitoes.
That's what I talked about. That's what I was talking about.
You can get me a bug zapper for November. That's what you can get me for a holiday, which we apparently need right now.
If anybody wants to take a look at Amy's downtown Pottstown shopping guide, go onto Facebook at YouTube. And
it took me like an hour and a half to go through all of the places between what's that? It was York.
Yeah, York.
Yeah, it was York
Evans.
to Evans.
Yep.
That was it. And there's some new places. There's some new places that are. There's a new spa there right across from the Rite Aids. There's a new spa that's open. There's great.
That episode is up on YouTube. Just go back, and the icon is a Santa going across what appears to be a little village.
Okay.
It's a black and white kind of woodcut thing.
Okay.
And that is Amy's Downtown Christmas Shopping Guide. There's a lot of great, you made a lot of great suggestions.
Yeah. Oh, the Army Navy store?
Yes. There's so much stuff.
Yes.
So shop local.
Super
80% of your dollar stays local if you shop local. 80%.
Yep.
If you go to the big store, the big box store, only 40% of your dollars. I would say if you shop on Amazon, it's probably even less than the 40.
Right.
Because,
Yeah. You might be supporting like the Amazon driver that's driving the truck. That like might be the only local thing about it.
Maybe.
Local-ish.
Local-ish.
Local light.
But if you shop at a local store or local restaurant, 80% of your dollar stays in the locality.
Yeah, and don't give stuff, give experiences, right?
Yeah.
All right, community Thanksgiving meal. This is at the Ricketts Center. Monday, November 21st, from 4 to 7:30. Please join the Ricketts Center and their community partners for a homemade holiday meal, handing out warm, pre-plated dinners with all the fixing to the Pottstown community and surrounding area. They will also have a select few items for children, winter's coats, hats, gloves, and scarves, which as of today does not feel like we're ever going to need, but it will get cold eventually. Pottstown Rotary Annual Pancake Breakfast. November 12th, that this is this weekend from 8 to 11 at the Tri-County Active Adult Center, also formerly known as the Senior Center, which is at 288 Moser Road. $8 for pancakes or a table of 8 for $56. Contact Brian Parks at the Tri-County Area Active Adult Center. Saturday pancake breakfast, 8 to 11. Support our friends at the Rotary and all of the great stuff they do. This is the original mini stand down. This is the fourth Saturday of every month. This is from our friend Mike Murphy. We also want to say happy birthday to the U.S. Marine Corps, which I forget the year.
1775.
1775?
Yep. The first.
That's almost 250 years.
Yes. The first in Porchcast math.
It was right before the birth of our nation.
It was.
Right.
And the first regiment of U.S. Marines was raised at a place called Tun Tavern in Philadelphia.
Ah, is it still there?
No.
The tavern? No.
It's where 95 cuts through Center City.
Gone. So the fourth Saturday of every month, they have the stand down at Memorial Park for vets by vets. So if you have a vet that is in need of services or connecting with the services, they can head down to Memorial Park on the fourth Saturday of every month from 10 until 12. And that's rain or shine. That's in the pavilion over on Veterans Island.
I put up some contact information for the folks at Veterans Island Project. If you want to get involved or make a contribution, please hit them up. Yeah. Mike Murphy and I, Chief Murphy, worked on a little bit of a project in cooperation with Cedarville Engineering.
Yeah, with the
GIS, mapping of the veterans' graves.
Nice.
Yep, that's
Very
where
nice.
we started. We're going to expand that project to include some history that's being done by, her last name is Fenstermacher. We're going to start expanding that project out in order to attract more attention and preserve more history at Edgewood Cemetery.
Great.
But Chief Murphy called me today and said that Cedarville Engineering is going to be issuing a press release about the work that Mike Murphy and I and
Very
Cedarville
nice.
Engineering were involved in.
Yeah.
So we're going to try to attract more attention, and it will be a landing place for preserving Pottstown history.
Very good.
Excellent.
Yeah, so stay tuned to that.
Important stuff.
We'll have Chief Murphy back on the show, I'm sure. He's our veterans liaison.
Yep.
And once we have some more information, we'll talk about what's going on over there at Edgewood.
Great. Excellent. Our friends at Art Fusion are having Van Gogh's Secret Studio. This is a place where kids can go and buy things for the holidays for their family members, which is nice. They can buy things that are inexpensive for the holidays. So Van Gogh's Secret Studio, December 3rd, 10th, and 17th from 11 to 2 over there at one of my favorite places, Art Fusion. I'm working on a new Art Fusion project, making a spoon. Wood carving. I'm making a wooden spoon.
Oh, you're making a wooden
making
spoon.
a wooden spoon. Yeah. So it's the first time I've done wood carving. I do remember doing some sort of like wood relief carving when I was in middle school, like in industrial arts. But we got a small little private group together to do wooden spoon carving.
And then take the wooden bowl carving after that.
Yes, I could eat my gruel or something. I don't know, beat a child. What am I going to do with a wooden spoon?
We could go out to the woods and take a little walk. We'll find you a barrel, and then you can turn your bowl out of a barrel with your wooden spoon.
Yes.
You'll be all kinds
I'll be all set.
You'll be all kinds of artsy.
I don't know. I just thought that it sounded oddly relaxing to do wood carving, and it really is. So.
Yeah.
This is at Cosmic Art Studios, Women's Circle.
I want to go to that place.
You can't go to the Women's Circle. You can go to the Psychedelic Shindig, which I think is coming up.
I identify, Amy.
Okay. Well, you can then maybe go to the Women's Circle and cacao ceremony.
Cacao?
Thursday, November 17th from 7 to 9. Bring a dish for potluck, $12. Sounds fascinating. And speaking of history, December 4th, Sunday, December 4th, Pottstown Historic Holiday House Tour, sponsored by Pottstown Go Forth. So
what day is it?
It is Sunday, December 4th, and we have homes in the Rosedale section of Pottstown.
Ooh, nice.
There is one house I am dying to see. It is incredible. It's like all glass. It's like this mid-century modern glass house.
Mm-hmm.
I can't wait to see it.
Okay.
So Sunday, December 4th, 1 o'clock. Tickets are on sale now. If you go to PottstownGoForth.com, we already have started to sell tickets. And there's, I think, 9 homes on the tour this year.
I need to share that.
Yes,
Yeah.
Please do.
Yeah.
I will
Please
do that.
Please do.
If I can figure it out.
We do have it. We do have an event page on Facebook, or you can go to our website and get the link to the Eventbrite tickets. And then in conjunction with the house tour, we have our 2023 calendar. So the calendar features homes that are on the tour this year, and it also features some other pictures from Pottstown Go Forth, and our photographer, Carol Brightbill, is super talented. And then also Emily Overdorf, who works for the school district, did the pictures for the 4th of July. So the calendar features the talented work of those 2 photographers.
I'm going to put up an event link for
All right.
that. I think you have the event link up, right? Or is this an
yeah,
old one?
well,
No, it's Sunday the 4th.
Yep.
Sunday, December 4th. 2022, right? That's the right one.
That's the right one.
I'm going to put that up in the count.
That
Now,
is the right
Amy,
one, yeah.
do you need some help from any historians?
We are good, actually. We are good.
Okay. Because I had a really fun time doing that little program over at the Potts Cemetery.
Yes.
So if there's ever any way I can help you guys with the historic house tour in the future,
thank you.
Please
We
let
will.
Ty and I know.
We will be back. Well, yeah, we will. So we hope to in 2023. We hope to be back in the downtown area.
Okay.
So we'll definitely.
Hit me up.
Yeah, for sure.
Hit Todd up.
Yes, for sure. Maybe we can get that tiny little house that we were just talking about.
Yeah,
I'm gonna crack that nut one of these days.
Yeah.
I'm gonna figure it out.
Yeah.
Joe Rusevich needs a calendar.
All
Joe
right.
Rusevich from the Pottstown Foundation.
Do
for
not
Education.
believe that they are unprinted yet. As soon as we get the, I will definitely save you one, Joe. Well,
Now,
Joe and I often make transactions out in the parking lot. It's very clandestine. Like, hey, psst, you want to buy a flag? Yeah, I got a calendar right here. Yeah, we do. Many transactions happen in the parking lot back there. Yeah.
So, this is a fundraiser for Pottstown Go Forth?
It is.
Correct?
We fundraise all year long.
Now,
So the house tour and the calendar are very, very good fundraisers for us. I would also like to thank everybody who bought a flag during our October fundraiser. We sold a lot of flags. We sold like 90 flags. It was great.
I just put a link up to PottstownGoForth.com. You can probably learn more about everything that Amy's just talking about over on their website.
Yep. Yes. Yeah. Great. Thank you very much. Looking forward to it. It's like I said, it's a good fundraiser and it's a fun way. People are very generous to open their homes And it's a fun way to see inside of these homes, and we're excited to be in the Rosedale section this year, just for something a little bit different. And then, like I said, we'll bring it back downtown next year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great.
All righty.
We've had a great episode. Lots of good information. People have hung with us. We've had a lot of watches
Thanks for
throughout the
staying
entire
tuned in.
show.
We went a little bit over. And do we have next week we have the Dragon Boat.
Yes.
Yeah, the folks from Pottstown Dragon Boat.
Enid and
Bobby
are going to come in.
Where are we going to shoot? Do we know? We'll
figure that out. We're trying to get places that are semi-quiet so that we can bring you a better show and a better experience.
Yes.
The pub is a great place.
We love the pub.
We love it. Southside Social Club is a great place, but when they start getting busy,
which we love that they're busy.
We do.
Yes.
But it impacts the audio quality of the show.
Yeah.
So the porch tonight was a semi-quiet place,
yes.
but it does let you know that we are actually on a real porch.
Yes, did you just hear that train? And yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So we'll work something out for the Dragon Boat people. We do have a full schedule of events through December 15th. That brings up a good point, Amy. If somebody wants to get on the show, please contact us. We do have a website. Excuse me. I always want to say website. It's not a website. We have an email address, pottstownreports@gmail.com. If you would like to ask us a question, if you would like to ask to come on the show to talk about something that pertains to Pottstown, whether it be Pottstown history, Pottstown events, Pottstown businesses, Pottstown nonprofit organizations, please hit us up at pottstownreports@gmail.com. That's the best way to get a hold of us and let us know that you are interested in participating. From time to time, Matt Green opens up his fat mouth and says something wrong. If you have questions, comments, or critiques about something that Matt Green has said, you can also lodge those complaints.
Yes, you can.
Pottstown Reports at gmail.
Or that guy you had on tonight.
That guy, that Todd Bainbridge. What kind of story is that?
Yeah.
Send us whatever you want to send us over at pottstownreports@gmail.com. We do monitor Pottstown Reports in cooperation with the folks over at Eye on Pottstown. So if there are hot topics that you would like to see us address on the show, please send them to pottstownreports@gmail.com. If we can, we will try to make a show out of it and collect more information and more questions, comment, and critique with the help of our friends at Eye on Pottstown.
All right.
I need to take a breath after all of that.
Thank you for tuning in.
Yes.
He is Matt Green. He is your local real estate expert. If
That's
you
correct.
need help buying or selling real estate in Pottstown or the greater Pottstown area, please call Matt Green at Glocker Real Estate.
Yeah.
I am Amy Wolf. I am the lovely office manager at Wolf Baldwin and Associates, bringing you fine legal representation in the borough of Pottstown and beyond since 1973, 50 years next year. And thank you to Todd Bainbridge of the Pottstown Area History Collective for being our guest tonight. Check out his Facebook page. We are Porchcast. Let's talk soon. How'd I do?
Great. Thanks for tuning in.
All right. Have a great weekend,
see you
everyone.
next week.
Yeah.